Can I be a rent a car for a couple hours? When I'm talking for myself, move to the sea. When I go down on the side, the world without me. When I gotta go hard, and that's pretty soon. When I don't think back, don't think I'm going back. When I went to the bar, so I can use that phone. That guy just looked at me.
We've been lucky the last couple of years, man. Been pretty steady for us, you know. I mean, in the big cities, we sell out in Brooklyn and San Francisco, Austin, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Reno. We had 1,500 the other night, and the last couple of years have been real good to us, man. The fans have been stepping up for us. In time, we might do that. You know, I got the rest of my life to be doing different shows and maybe do a little bit with just the acoustic guitar, and that's stuff we do down at Layla's in Nashville. I'm sure there'll be a record one day that'll just be me and my guitar. Oh, in time. Yeah, I mean, I'll be doing that soon. I got the rest of my life to be playing more songs off of that. But yeah, we'll be doing some more of the songs like Looking for a Mountain and Lost in Oklahoma and Getting Drunk and Falling Down. And, we'll be doing some other songs. Just right now, we had a lot of shit go down last month. I was barely able to pull this tour together. With the new drummer and getting all the permits up in Canada and all that stuff. So in time, we'll be doing some other songs. Well, we're still hitting some markets where it's their first time seeing it, and we're like in our Black Sabbath, Paranoid, Snowblind years where we got our hits and the party songs, and here soon we'll be adding some other new ones in there. As an entertainer, man, Ronnie James Dio had a voice from God, man. He was super powerful. He had a long, awesome career. He was always a great showman. I know there's been times where that man has been so sick and gone out there and kicked so much ass on stage. So he's definitely missed. I loved all the standards from him. But it was a sad day, but he had a great life. He got to do a lot, and he was a full-on professional badass. Whoever would have thought Ozzy would outlive Dio, man.
Much of a typo negative fan at all? Kind of
More carnivore.
Carnivore, yeah.
Yeah, I mean it was a. Typo, I can respect the goth vampire kind of themes to it and the dark thing on it, but I was definitely more into carnivore.
That was sad too to see the guy 48, 46, was it?
Yeah, but Pete lived really hard, man. I mean, he fucking took it to the next level.
It wasn't a surprise.
No.
You have that kind of fun.
No, even some of my close bros that's way up in the metal world were like, saying, he's getting close, man. Well, I'm sure there'll be some folks out there that create a new sound. It's hard to come up with something that's not been done before. There's a few like Phantomus and Mr. Bungle and all those really technical bands, Psyopus and bands like that can take it to the next level. But it's a challenge to sound like unlike anything that's really been done. The Melvins have done a great job of creating new sounds, and there'll be hope on trying different things out there. It'll be a select few that can do it. It's symbolism, okay? Apple. Why wouldn't Apple have a whole apple as their logo? All right? Well, they have a bite out of apple. So that bite out of the apple in symbolism means sin. You know, here was the in the garden of temptation. What did they have? You had the snake, and then Adam and Eve took a bite out of the apple. That's showing the sin. So what I'm saying is there's a little bit of symbolism there with Apple computers. It should be a whole apple if it was a positive thing. But since there is a bite out of the apple, that bite equals pentagram, equals sin. So that's the spoof on it. And a lot of skateboarders and surfers think that the iPhone is a full on devil tool and stuff like that. So that was just me trying to have some fun with some of the underground kids, man. A long time ago, I drove to Chicago to see Brujeria, and they wanted me to dress up as a immigration officer. So I went out on stage and I was like, you know what my job is? And this is in a room full of like 5,000 Mexicans. I'm like, my job is to keep you Mexicans out of the United States. And everybody's throwing bottles and all that shit. And then the band, run up there and they act like they're cutting my throat and beating me up and dragging me off stage. Yeah, so it was just a fun thing. Yeah, it was Brujo's idea. He was like, man, I want to dress you up and go out and act like an immigration guy. And I was like, fuck yeah, I'll do it, man.
Chicago.
Uh-huh.
That's awesome.
It's the longest I've ever driven to see a live band, so.
How's your hearing? Do you wear any kind of protection?
I never have, no. So far, so good, man. I mean, I'll even catch things, certain frequencies during sound check where there'll be like a whoop. And then I got my main guys that I'm hired from the road, and they're not hearing that. I'm like, you hear that? So far, so good, man. I've been real lucky for it, but I do catch myself, like when my old lady's talking to me, I hear myself going, huh? What? But my hearing's still real good for right now, man. Been lucky on that one. I don't see myself living in Tennessee unless the Bible Belt people drive me out, man. But I like the smallness of Tennessee. I just feel comfortable there. I lived in Atlanta and I lived in Charlotte, North Carolina for a while. But Tennessee, it's just cheap rent. You got all the music stores there. Not music stores, but all the Guild Guitar Factory, the Gibson Guitar Factory, Shure microphones, all these things that I need for the road is right there in my backyard, man. So, yeah, I might move to the outskirts, a little more out in the country one day, but yeah, unless, like I said, if I get older and I don't feel comfortable, maybe I would move, but right now I don't see myself leaving Tennessee. Well, Scientologists have moved in on Music Row, so that's a whole new thing, and Nashville's getting more open-minded slowly, but there's still a church every 2,000 feet down there. It's just part of it, man. But it's growing. It's coming up. You got a lot of the, a lot of the gay bars, lesbian bars, metal bars, bondage bars, swinger clubs. So there's still a lot down there that.
Wouldn't see that 30 years ago.
No, man. I mean, well, you'd be surprised if you actually did your homework and looked at Broadway maybe 40 years ago. It was nothing but porn stores. And if you look back in the Civil War, all of 2nd Avenue and all that was nothing but whorehouses. To a point. I'm not trying to kill myself as much as I used to with all the hard drugs and everything and the hard living. I'm trying to stick around for the long haul, man. Always in the winter, it gets tough for me out there. the winter is my darkest months. That's when it's the hardest part for me, and that's when I'm trying to make my records. But that's something with the kind of life that I lead and things that I promote. I have to always, that catches up with me. The karma catches up with me every now and then, and I deal with it, but I'll never be one of those guys that'll fucking take the easy way out and kill myself or anything like that. I'll always be sticking around for the long fight. 2 days ago, I could barely move. I had that super bad back injury. Didn't know if I was going to be able to do the show, and whenever I feel like I can't perform to my fullest, yeah, it definitely concerns me. But the voice has pretty much been there this whole tour. A lot of highs and lows out here, you know, but we just keep on keeping on. That's what I always say. And it's just part of it. I'll always have to deal with misery and depression and the good times the rest of my life. It's just the way it is, man. Just like my granddad, Hank Williams, had it. He always had the heaven and hell issue, and I got the same struggle. You know, he sang a lot more about the light, and I sing a lot more about the dark. And it's just, it's in my blood. That guilt, being from the South and being from the Bible Belt, that guilt is programmed in you. So I deal with it the best that I can, man. And, you know, on the flip side of that, there's a lot of people I keep hanging on from not killing themselves and pulling them through divorces and helping them through their hard times with my music, and that's always the payoff. But yeah, for me personally, it's, you know, it's not a perfect world, and everybody's not happy-go-lucky all the time. It's just part of life. Life ain't easy. Life is pain, as Henry Rollins would say, man. Well, Hank Williams was always honest. I mean, in his good times and bad times. And to me, I'm just being myself. I'm not trying to protect anything or whatnot. The truth might hurt on some things, but I don't understand about talking bullshit. Or just trying to dodge a question. I like keeping it real. If it hurts me or if it doesn't, that's just the way it is, man. And I think a lot of people identify with being straight up. You know, it doesn't matter if I'm being asked about when I was molested when I was a kid, or if I was busted when I was older, or my drug problems in the past, or what happened with my child, or what I think about my relationship with my father. You know, it's the truth. And that, no, man, I've never had some manager trying to protect me and tell me to say this or that, and that's just not real. And that's why I've always had these problems with Curb Records and certain managers that want to work with me. And shit, man, that's just not me. I mean, I just, straight up, I'm a straight shooter. Even Philip Anselmo, he'll ask me a question in front of like this big, huge rock manager dude. He was like, Hank, what about this and this and this? And I said, boom. Look, see that? That fucker, he's a straight shooter. So fuck yeah, man. I got nothing to hide. I'm an open book. I mean, that's the beauty of us. I mean, that's just me, and people want to see me for me. They don't want to see a bunch of fucking lies. Now, we take pride in doing the longest show for the cheapest ticket, and I always fight for the working man, trying to keep that ticket price as low as we can.
Playing as long as you do is for the fans.
Absolutely, man. Well, it just makes us different, man. You know, as Eddie Van Halen would say, you know, there's so many rock bands out there, it's just ripping the kids off. And I never wanted to be one of those bands to take their money. I always wanted to fucking kick their ass as much as possible till they can barely stand anymore.
Right on. Well, thanks again.
You got it, man.